Hello and welcome to the WTF podcast with The Flow. My name is Stephanie Babane and I'm here to help answer all of your WTF questions when it comes to all things related to spirituality, mindset, and the metaphysical. I'll answer your what the F, who the F, where the F, when the F, why the F, and even though it doesn't start with a W, the occasional how the F questions that you might have upon entering the world of personal development and embarking on a spiritual journey. Ultimately, my hope and intention is that at the end of every single episode, you leave smiling and understanding a little bit more about yourself and how to live a happier life in the flow with this miraculous, infinitely expanding, all-loving universe that we all call home. I love you. Let's effing do this. Hello, and welcome back to the WTF podcast. Happy Wednesday. As always, I hope that you are having the most wonderful week and that you've enjoyed every single moment to the best of your ability. And for the moments where you're feeling a little bit low, I hope that they just didn't last as long as they normally do. In honor of the last episode that we did, which was all about goals in the new year, I decided to do an episode now on the one thing, I guess you could call it one thing, that will either get you to or keep you from your goal. And this is a word that I personally did not hear a lot about or a lot of in the beginning of my journey. So it's kind of awesome that I get to introduce it to you, especially as a listener who is likely new to this journey, or maybe not. But still, it's a very powerful concept that I have come to learn about through my mentorship program that I am now going to share with you. And it's something that, once again, the Proctor and Gallagher Institute teaches heavily. So what I'm going to be talking about in this episode is what the F is a paradigm. The word is paradigm. So what the F is a paradigm? A paradigm is what PGI defines as a multitude of habits. A paradigm can look like many different things, and you can have several paradigms. So a person doesn't just necessarily have one paradigm. They can have several paradigms about different areas of their life. So you can have a paradigm around money. You can have a paradigm around relationships. You can have a paradigm around food, sales. There's cultural paradigms, when you go into groupthink, when you think about different cultures and different etiquettes that align with different cultures. Those are all paradigms. To break it down, a paradigm, when I say it's a multitude of habits are formed through a person's subconscious mind. As always, you're going to hear me talk about the mind a lot, and the subconscious mind is the most important part of your mind that I'm going to get into most likely the most often. Not that the conscious mind doesn't matter. It's important as well because it is your filter. But the reason that I emphasize the subconscious mind is because the subconscious mind is the part of your mind that you're not aware of. So it's the part of your mind that controls all of your actions and your doing. It controls your body. So this is why there are oftentimes things that you want to do that you know you need to do in order to be successful, but you don't do them. It's what PGI calls the knowing doing gap. So you, let's say, have money troubles, and so you know better than to go frolicking, spending your money when you don't have a lot left in the bank. And this is just for an example because you do want to spend money to receive money, but there is obviously a scenario in which, for example, you know better to pay your rent first before going on vacation or something along those lines. Or you know that in order to get a good night's sleep, you need to go to bed early, right? There are these little things that's like, I know better. I know what I need to do, but we don't do them. And then instead of understanding why, we end up just getting mad at ourselves and beating ourselves up and live in this perpetual cycle over and over and over again. So that is essentially how a paradigm comes to form. You have created a habitual way of thinking, and your habitual way of thinking resonated in your subconscious mind so that it created a collection of habits in your body. Your subconscious mind is the part of your mind that does most of the thinking. So you're not aware of most of the thoughts that you're having. Again, they are unconscious. So let's say you have a paradigm around money. And this paradigm is that you don't feel like you have enough money. And you may be aware of that belief or you may not. But one of the ways that you can tell is if you constantly say things are expensive and you worry about spending money and going out to dinner and things of that nature, that shows that you have a deeply ingrained belief that you don't have enough money, that you have it's called a lack consciousness. And lack consciousness does not only pertain to money, that pertains to, in general, this belief that there's not enough in the universe, that you're not enough, that there's not enough time, that there's not enough food, which is something that governs our whole world. So let's say you have a paradigm around money. Well, that paradigm is going to control every single habit that you have around money. Let's say you have a paradigm around your body. You have a paradigm around your body. You don't like the way that you look and you feel like exercise is what you need to do in order to do it, but you won't exercise because your paradigm is subconsciously ingrained into you, which is something along the lines of, this is who I am. This is who I am, and I can't look any different. I don't exercise. So paradigms can look like all different, can come in all different shapes and forms. Paradigm can be even, I thought this was funny when I realized breakfast in America versus breakfast in another country. A paradigm that we have here is you eat pancakes and cereal and eggs and toasts and whatever else for breakfast. Whereas in another country, I don't really know what you eat. Like, okay, in France, you eat like a small pastry in the morning and some coffee. And you have dinner at like 9, 10, 11 p.m. for 4 hours. That's a paradigm. So a paradigm is really, really, really important to understand because, again, this is the thing that's going to either keep you from or get you to your goal. And the paradigm is neither good nor bad. When you have a paradigm, you do not need to label it as good or bad. You just need to ask yourself if it's a paradigm that is serving you. Because let's say, again, you want to earn money and you decide that the best way that you can do that is through starting a business. But then you have a paradigm around sales, which is one that I've definitely had and I have been, working to change, but I'm focusing on some other paradigms right now. If you have a paradigm around sales because you feel icky around sales, that's going to show in your results. You are going to do nothing you're going to do nothing to make sales. You're not going to take any action. Remember, your subconscious mind is the part of your mind that controls the actions that you take. So you can have this go-getter attitude of, I'm going to do this many calls and get this many sales a day. And then all of a sudden you find yourself procrastinating in all the different magnificent ways that you can procrastinate, because while you believe what you're saying on a conscious level, subconsciously, you do not. And your subconscious belief is going to take over, which is a nice segue into getting into what a belief is, because a belief is a part of a paradigm. A belief There's a belief on two levels. You have a belief on your conscious mind and you have a belief on your subconscious mind. So the example of sales is a perfect example. If you could consciously say, yeah, I believe it's possible that I can make 100 sales in a month, or it depends on what you're selling, 100 sales in a day. On a conscious level, you could agree and believe that. But if you are not taking the actions and seeing the results that of 100 sales, taking the actions that would give you 100 sales and then seeing those 100 sales, that's all you need as proof that you do not believe it on a subconscious level. An example that I've shared previously is I believe that it's possible to earn $1 million in a day. I know this. I know that people have done it. I have seen it evidently in the world. My mentor has earned $1 million in a week. It's not the same thing, but I believe that it's possible to earn large quantities of money in a short amount of time. That's a belief that I have on a conscious level. If I believed that on a subconscious level, deeply in my mind, I would have $1 million within a day. I would be taking the actions to earn $1 million in a day. So it's really, really, really important to not cut the subconscious mind short, because your subconscious mind is the direct line to the universe. In fact, your subconscious mind basically is the universe in short. It's basically where you create everything. And so your subconscious mind and the universe are not separate. They're one. So if you are feeding this information to your subconscious mind on a regular basis, it will come to fruition. A belief is simply a thought that you have had over and over and over again enough times with repetition that it has become a belief. A belief is just a thought on repeat. So you can look at your life and really examine your beliefs and then ponder on, well, where did this come from? I'm trying to think of a belief that I've had from just hearing it long enough. This is going to be a little bit of a sad example, but there was a time growing up where I was actually called stupid pretty often, to the point where I realized I was starting to believe it. And again, you have the power through your conscious mind to reject an idea. So if someone calls you stupid, you don't have to accept it as your truth. You don't have to accept anything as your truth unless you want to. The reason that I accepted it, one, was because I didn't know this information. Two, because it was coming from someone that I cared about, that mattered to me, and their opinion mattered to me at the time. And because it was always said in very emotionally involved moments. It was from a parent. So I didn't realize necessarily that I had this belief. I started to catch myself in believing it. Another belief that formed growing up was this belief that I was not enough. And that's a really interesting belief to uncover, that I'm going to be honest, is a belief that a majority of people have, unfortunately, which goes back into this idea of lack consciousness, which is this belief that we don't have what it takes to fulfill our dreams. We don't have enough, that we're not enough. We're not good enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not smart enough. We're not talented enough. We're not capable enough. They can do it, but I can't. It's just not true. That's a paradigm. That is simply a paradigm that has been passed on from person to person, from parent to parent, generation to generation, and it's just not true. If you really think about the universe and you really study it and believe it, the universe is infinite. It is all expanding and never ending. So if the universe is infinite, all expanding and never ending, how could there be anything finite? I literally just called it infinite. The opposite of infinite is finite. There is more than enough of everything for all of us. But what we have come to do is believe that we've just come to believe the opposite. And so we cling on to things and we hoard and we don't share. I mean, this is just a fact. Like, there's this belief that there's not enough food in the world. There's a food shortage. Do you know how much food gets thrown away just because it's imperfect at the grocery store? Do you know how much food gets thrown away at restaurants? There is so much food in this world that we could easily distribute to countries and other areas of the world that do not have food. But we just have yet to create a system in which we can do that. And I'm sure that it all boils down to money and big business. And I know I'm tangenting a little bit here, but I just really want to emphasize that if there's anything in your life that you are holding yourself back from, one of the best paradigms that you can explore, that's just kind of like a general sweeping paradigm that probably will solve like 90% of your problems, is the paradigm I am enough. Or or you can, and maybe both, I am worthy. Because you can get very specific with paradigms. Paradigms are created through repetition. So if you want to change a paradigm, you first need to look at your life. You need to look at your goal and examine what paradigm you have that is holding you back from your goal. So let's say it's sales on a very specific level. Let's say it's sales and you feel like you're not getting a lot of leads. Then you would take that paradigm and write the exact opposite. But it's important that you add emotion to it once you say it. So let's say you feel like you don't get enough leads, then your paradigm would be, I am so happy and grateful. This is how PGI always describes it. I am so happy and grateful now that leads, or be specific, high quality leads flow to me easily and effortlessly on a consistent basis. That's just an example. If you want to earn a certain amount of money, right? I'm so happy and grateful now that I've effortlessly earned blank. Let's say you want to be a certain weight. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am blank. I'm so happy and grateful now that I love to exercise. Whatever it is, you can be very, very specific with your paradigm. In fact, the more specific, the better. For example, even in this lead one, maybe instead you would rather write, I am so happy and grateful now that I have X amount of high quality, high paying clients, something along those lines. So you can change your paradigm once you become aware of what paradigm you have that's holding you back. And you change it through repeating the new paradigm over and over and over again until that paradigm becomes the new dominating idea in your mind. To go back to a general one, like I am enough and I am worthy, sometimes paradigm writing as simple as that can take care of the more specific things. For example, if you really are struggling with money and you go for I am enough, once you really on a subconscious level believe that you're enough, my mentor was just talking about this today, you will no longer feel like you need anything to be complete. Like you won't feel affected by anything outside of you, and that you will feel okay regardless of what's happening in your bank account. And funny enough, the moment you no longer care or worry about what's happening in your bank account because you feel so good and complete as yourself, that's when the money starts to flow in because you've let it go. You're no longer putting energy into worry or doubt, because remember, whatever you focus on expands. If you go into the paradigm of I am worthy and you have a fear of sales, which is a thing, or you just have a fear of going after your dreams and you procrastinate on them, A very deep-rooted subconscious belief could be that you just don't feel worthy of creating the life that you want. So if you write a paradigm like I am worthy over and over and over again, and you start to believe it on a subconscious level, you will find yourself taking action because you realize that you are actually worthy. And so nothing that happens will make you think any different. No rejection or hearing no on a sales call, no temporary failure. You will realize I am worthy of my dream. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, even if it's hard and uncomfortable. So you can have two ways of writing a paradigm. And the most efficient way, in my opinion, would be to look at one very specific paradigm that could knock out all the others in one, so that you're not just consistently having to necessarily write specific ones over and over again, because writing is a really great way to ingrain something in your subconscious mind. But you have to write it over and over and over and over again. And there is no specific time given on when this paradigm is going to change. I can't tell you it's going to take a month. I can't tell you it's going to take a week. I can't tell you it's going to take 3 months. Everyone's different. It just depends on how consistently you write it and how much you let yourself feel the feeling of actually, being happy and grateful for having that paradigm. Because your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. It works through emotions. So it's really, really, really important to emphasize. Another way that you can create repetition outside of writing is to record yourself. Record yourself saying your paradigm statement and then listen to it on a loop over and over and over and over again. You can also speak it out loud over and over and over and over again. That's called autosuggestion. There's an entire section of it in Think and Grow Rich. So there's numerous ways that you can create a new paradigm through repetition. You can read it over and over again, of course. So you can do all of those things. It's just up to you what it is. But the repetition is the most important thing. And to be patient and persistent is the second, because the paradigm that you have, the beliefs and the habits that you have right now, you have been doing for a very long time. You've probably been doing them most of your life. And the truth is, they're probably not even really yours. They're habits, opinions, beliefs, ideas that you picked up from your environment, from your parents, from your teachers, from your friends. I mean, think about like all the times that you have been around your parents, or I'm sorry, all the examples of people fearing turning out like their parents and wanting to be nothing like their parents, only for them to realize that they are exactly like their parents. That's because you picked up their habits, you picked up their beliefs, their paradigms. Paradigms are also genetic on some level. They're passed down to you the moment that you're conceived. But then, of course, as you grow up as a little child and your mind is wide open and you have no conscious mind to filter anything out, yeah, you've picked up mom and dad's habits and now they're showing in your adulthood. That's what it means to be programmed. So even though I personally didn't hear the word paradigm a lot in the beginning of my journey, and really up until I started learning from Bob Proctor's material and from Kim Calvert, the one thing that I mainly heard was programming, that your mind is programmed. And it's true. Your mind is programmed to be a certain way until you realize that that certain way is either giving you or not giving you the results you want. In this case, let's say it's not giving you the results that you want. And so that's when you have to realize that you have the power to change it, and you have to learn how to change it. And that comes with persistence, because paradigms do not like to change. And that's the downside. Paradigms do not like to change. Paradigms are very comfortable with where they are. They are feeling they're feeling like they're protecting you. This could even get into ego, and I will definitely do an episode on ego, but paradigms and ego essentially go hand in hand. Paradigms are stuck in your subconscious mind, and so this habitual way of thinking feels safe. It is your normal. It is your comfort zone. And so when the paradigm gets shaken, it's not because the paradigm is evil and hates you or anything of that nature. It is because it feels scary. It feels dangerous. It feels unfamiliar. And so it wants to stay. And so, and I will, even on an energetic level, it's a shift. You'll hear a lot of people say there's an energetic shift happening. I mean, it's quite literally that. You're shifting vibrations. You're moving from one vibration into another. And that's going to feel a little bit chaotic. You're literally changing an entire way of being. And so, yes, it's going to be uncomfortable until it's not. Really, that's it. It's not really a process where you can just have. It's kind of like one day you just wake up and realize that you are that person, or you are this being with this new belief. And while a habit is not easy to change in the beginning because you've been doing it for so long, eventually once you create this new habit, that is your new normal. That's your new easy. Remember, a paradigm is a multitude of habits. It's just your habitual way of thinking, of doing, of being. So that's why I say there's no good or bad. You can have a paradigm that serves you towards your goal, or you can have a paradigm that holds you back. For the sake of this conversation, I'm mostly emphasizing and talking about the paradigms that will hold you back and how you change them and how you realize how to create one that will help you achieve your goal. I'll share with you right now, truly, the paradigm that I'm writing over and over again is I am worthy. That's my paradigm. Before it was I am enough. So I am sharing from experience that it is highly beneficial to look at those two in particular and see how they impact you. Because for me, at least, I know I have held myself back for far too long, and I do believe that it is a deep-seated belief in my subconscious mind that I am not worthy of success, that I'm not worthy of wealth and happiness and prosperity. On a conscious level, if you ask me if I'm worthy, I'm like, heck yeah, of course I am. But my actions, in my opinion, don't necessarily show that. So that is a belief that I'm writing. And that's why I'm really encouraging you to look at it, because it is probably a belief that this is not a genuine statistic, but I'm going to say 90% of people suffer from is this belief that they're not worthy or that they're not enough. So I think that is mostly pretty much all that I want to say about paradigms and beliefs. Oh, and also when you are changing a paradigm, PGI recommends that you only pick 1 to 2 paradigms maximum at a time. My mentor, Kim Calvert, recommends 1 at a time, but she says definitely no more than 2, because if you start to do a bunch of them, then you're not really focusing on just one thing. You're just kind of throwing shit in the wind. And so you're not really actually going to get any significant change. So only pick 1 to 2 paradigms maximum at a time and stay persistent in repeating those. It's also something that I think is beneficial to emphasize is that paradigms are not this, they're basically affirmations. If you've heard of affirmations, I'm basically telling you to affirm a new truth. But I'll probably do a whole thing on affirmations, who knows, but affirmations are still something that you can absolutely do. Know that affirmations are anything that you say over and over again, you're basically affirming it, which is why you want to be conscious of the words that you're speaking and the thoughts that you're thinking. So while writing a paradigm is essentially like writing an affirmation, it doesn't mean that you can't still say other affirmations. Like when you're writing, when you're repeating, this new idea, this new paradigm over and over and over again. That's your main focus, but you can still throughout the day, every now and then, say other affirmations like I am beautiful, I am marvelous, I am brilliant, I am abundant, I am safe. But when it comes to really changing this multitude of habits in your mind, that's where I say pick just one or two. And then if you want to throw in some affirmations throughout the day, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to. Just know that if you really want to change your habits, the actions that you're taking, you have to go deep into your subconscious mind, pick a paradigm, and ingrain that into your subconscious mind so that it takes over your body and you start doing the things that you need to do. That makes sense. It's really just know that whatever you believe, you will achieve. Whatever you believe, you will achieve. So it's really, really important to examine your beliefs, because your thoughts are your beliefs. And once you have an ingrained belief, that's when you start having more thoughts. So they kind of feed into each other, if that makes sense. Because you have gotten emotionally involved in a thought enough times, that created a belief. From that belief creates more thoughts of the same. And so you just find reasons to validate your belief. We become what we think about, and we create what we think about. But again, it's not possible to be aware of all of your thoughts. And this is also part of why it's so challenging for people to accept that they're the creator of their results, because they're unconscious thoughts. So people aren't aware of the things that they're doing. So if you're not aware of your beliefs on a subconscious level, then you have to look at your results and you have to look at your actions. And if you're not taking the actions necessary to get you closer to your goal, that's how you know you have a paradigm that needs rewriting, a belief that needs examining and changing. And you do that through repetition. Persistent repetition. It doesn't work if you just do it twice a week. It doesn't work if you do it for a week and then skip a week. You have to do it every single day. Ideally every morning and every night. But if you do it even just every morning, that's better than nothing. But the more you do it, the better. Over and over and over and over again. I'm worthy. I'm worthy. I'm worthy. I'm worthy. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm enough. I am enough. Over and over and over and over again. Because I can say it to you all day long that you're worthy and you're enough, but it doesn't mean that you're going to believe it on a subconscious level. Only you can do that. In a sense, you're essentially hypnotizing yourself, because hypnosis is just convincing yourself. It's just convincing. It's convincing someone or yourself of an idea. So you've just been convinced that you're not worthy. You've just been convinced that you're not enough. You've been convinced that you suck at sales. You've been convinced that leads are not flowing to you and whatever else it might be. You've been convinced that there's not enough money. So now it's your job to convince yourself of the opposite. It's also important to remember that when you have a belief, you will always look for validation for that belief if you are not consciously aware of that fact. So if you believe that people are assholes, just for a random example, if you believe that people are assholes, or here's a better one. If you believe that people suck at driving, this is just something I hear all the time. You are constantly going to get experiences on the road of people being shitty drivers, and you're going to say, you see, I'm right. People are shitty drivers. When in fact, the reason you're getting shitty drivers is because you believe that they're shitty drivers. You attract what you think. You get what you believe. I ride a moped, and people are constantly telling me to be careful, and they mean well, but truthfully, it's just a lot of instilling fear and talking about how people are stupid and this and that. And I am not saying that I am not careful. I'm not saying that accidents don't happen. I'm not being ignorant to the fact that I am somehow the only person in the world where it's like it can't happen to me. I'm not saying that. but I don't think that way. I don't worry about it. And I don't really let people instill the fear in me, because that's not going to help me be a safe driver. And I have not had any experience that would give me any reason to believe that. And because I don't believe it, I don't experience that. I also I don't really have conflicts with people. I just have some certain beliefs that around people specifically, where I just always have pleasant experiences most of the time with pretty much every human being that I engage with. And that's because I have a deep seated belief in seeing the good in people. And so I always have that experience. So again, if you want to know what your deep subconscious beliefs are, look at your results, look at your environment. If your house is messy, like mine is kind of, honestly. So that's why I'm using it as an example. That means that there's some clutter in your mind. There's some chaos. That's why every time you clean, you feel better. Your results, the outside world, are proof of your beliefs, but they're not validating, right? Like it's just true to you. Your beliefs are your truth. They're what you perceive to be true. If you perceive the truth as everyone sucks at driving, you will have plenty of experiences that will be evidence to you that everyone sucks at driving. But if you love driving and you believe that everyone always follows the rules, I'm telling you, you will have that experience. You will have many, many, many pleasant driving experiences. So that's my rant, my tangent on traffic. And on really seriously about paradigms and beliefs. And this is just one of the most important things to really get into when starting to pursue a goal. So remember, it won't be comfortable. Your paradigm doesn't like to change. There are all kinds of paradigms. There's cultural ones, and then there's one specific to you. So look at your results and examine your beliefs and figure out which ones are no longer serving you. Remember, they're not good or bad. Just figure out the ones that are no longer serving you. Write the opposite statement and repeat it over and over and over again. And ideally, find one general paradigm that could just knock out all the specific ones that you would have to write. So you have this one solid core belief in your mind that will help you take the actions necessary to achieve your goal. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, again, you know where to find me. Join the Facebook group, find me on Instagram, and I believe you can even answer questions on Spotify. Also, I would love to know if you guys are hearing ads on this podcast, because I have been able to monetize my podcast. Yay. But it's through adding ads. And I added one last time. Don't think I heard it, but I will check again. So yeah, let me know. And I'm going to include a song at the end of this one that's different from the usual song that I put. I've decided that I'm going to share some songs with you guys, because I've come to really, really find a lot of comfort in songs, a lot of connection and meaning in songs, especially through specific songs with specific lyrics. And that's a wonderful thing, because I was someone who had zero taste in music a few years ago. And I can't say that I'm great at labeling genres or labeling artists. I just know that I like what I like. And so I listen to what I like, and I know the words, and that's pretty much the extent of it. But I have a playlist that's very special to me. And whenever I am talking about something and I feel like there's a song that will go well with it, I'm just going to share it with you. Because I also didn't realize that the theme song that I have plays the entire song. Because fun fact, the app that I'm using, Anchor, it gives me the ability to edit, but it doesn't give me the ability to edit songs. And when I add a song to an episode and I preview it, it only plays 30 seconds of the song. And it just, for me, happened to be the part of the song that I wanted my listeners to hear, that I wanted you to hear as the intro. And then, to my surprise, when I listen to the whole episode on Spotify, it's the entire song. So if it's going to play the entire song anyway, I'm just going to share songs that matter to me, that I hope resonate with you, that have to do with the topics that I'm sharing. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the song. I love you so much. Have the most amazing week, and just know that you are enough and you are worthy. And I love you. Until next time, talk to you soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the WTF podcast. I hope that you gained all kinds of value from listening and that your WTF question was answered. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram at Coach Stephanie B. If you have a WTF question of your own, or you have any interest in working one-on-one with me, then feel free to send me a private message. And when it comes to your question, I'll do my best to answer it either here or privately. In the meantime, until the next episode, I'm wishing you the most wonderful day, the most wonderful week, and reminding you to smile and then see if you can make somebody else smile. Until next time.